Welcome to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. I'm so thrilled that you are here with me today. And I'm also thrilled that I have a special guest today that we're going to learn so much about. My friend and business colleague, Rachael Kloss Pawlik. Rachael is the owner and creator of Dragonfly Photography. She has been in business for 18 years, documenting life's moments. She's also a homesteader. 6 years ago, she and her husband moved from the city to Maine, where they have a beautiful homestead with chickens, dogs, eggs, flowers, and now microgreens. She and her husband launched a second business, Our American Farmhouse, where they are growing flowers and microgreens and bringing them to market. Rachael is a photographer, a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, a cousin, a dog mom, and has a really full life. And that is really what I think about when I think about a beautiful life. So here we are in this conversation together, Rachael, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Laurel. I'm so happy to come on here to your podcast, and I always am happy when I listen to it. It makes my day better.
Thank you. Well, we're in our fourth season now, and this season has been really fun because interviewing guests and bringing different people, men and women, have been our guests this season. And it's really interesting to me and remarkable to think about when we describe our beautiful life, we describe individually our life different. And we see the beauty in our individual lives from an internal perspective, from our I self. And I can see your life, but from where you sit, knowing what your life is to be lived and how you came to this place in your life. This is what we're going to dive into today. So I'm going to start with the question that we ask all of our guests. How would you describe your beautiful life?
So, I guess I would say my beautiful life would start that I love what I do, so work doesn't feel like work. And I think, how do you want to be in your life? How do you want to feel? How do you want to live rather than what do you want to do? Because that's just a small portion of your life. And
Yeah,
you want it to be something that you love to do that turns into a job. Taking yourself out of what you've been programmed to be to think or do or what you think you're supposed to do and really digging deep inside and saying, what do I want to do? How do I want to live my life? I want to be a good person. I want to be happy. So I that's what I've done. I guess that's my baseline for life, right? I want to be happy. That's if you ask me what I want to do, I want to live a happy life. And sometimes a happy life is not an easy life because the easy path doesn't always give you happiness in the end. So between my businesses, my daughter Clementine, my dogs, my chickens and garden, and of course my husband, I don't have much time, but I love every aspect of my life, and I love that I'm continuously creating the life which I dreamed up. I'm a big dreamer, so I could sit there and dream all day, and I definitely live a seasonal life. I don't know if other people live by the seasons, but winter is a time to restore and renew and dream. Spring is the time to build all the dreams that you created. Summer is the time to enjoy the fruits of your labor and the sunshine and being with friends. And fall is my work season. That's when it's harvest season. I do a majority of my photo shoots from August to November.
so I'm so curious. Can I ask, when you were dreaming this life that you currently have, how did the life you were living then compare to now? Because you just talked through kind of living aligned with the seasons.
Right. I think that comes from now that I live in the woods. It's so seasonal here. It's hard to leave in the winter. And I also think the world is go, go, go. But now that I'm removed by living out in the woods, my clock is different than what it used to be.
And it's interesting because, your new business creation is a farmstead. You are a farmsteader,
Yes.
and you're bringing this farmsteader lifestyle into a business. And, what we know of farming and nature's cycles is there is this time of rest and hibernation and then planting seeds and the
Hmm.
springtime. and then that early growth and enjoying the fruits of your labor and the full harvest and preparing for that time of restoration again. And so it's lovely to see that you're bringing your lifestyle into a business.
Well, that is creating the life that you love, right? Why would I do anything else?
A lot of people do, Rachel. I don't know.
I get out of bed and I'm like, I get out of bed for coffee. I'm not gonna lie, but I dream of my coffee and I'm like, okay, I'll get up.
And tell us, you're not a morning person, is what you've told me before.
Oh, I'm not a morning person. I try. They said, oh, once you have a baby, you'll be a morning person. Well, she is not a morning person either.
So, when I think about this beautiful life that you've created, it's not by accident, right? You dreamt
No.
of this life. And so you were living in the city, you moved to the country, you are surrounded by nature, you're living your life in a natural, cyclical way. What allowed you to do that? How did your inner work journey lead you to this life, lead you to dreaming into the life that you wanted?
There's so many aspects of it. Ultimately, I met my husband. I wanted to have a baby, right? I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have 3 children. And then we had a hard time getting pregnant after a year of trying, which, if you've ever had to try, it's not fun. I saw fertility doctors and we signed up for IVF, and then I got pregnant. And I was so happy and I was so sick. And I went for my first ultrasound and there was no baby. That was probably one of the hardest moments of my life. In the process of that, I started getting healthier. So I started buying all the organic products. I switched my water to a Berkey water filter. I started making, we both were making slow changes to live healthier. Then a whole nother year went by again of us trying, and I didn't get pregnant. So we signed up for IVF, if you want me to go into IVF, but
It's part of your beautiful life, Rachel. This is your story, honey.
Okay, so the IVF it was good in a way because I gave up control. I threw my hands up and I said, God, please, like, I'm just giving up control. So we had to pay cash, which was hard. So in the process, we sold our house, so we had money. We did IVF. IVF, I got 1 embryo. Most people get 10 to 20. So we had 1 shot. Got pregnant and it was an amazing journey. I did not like being pregnant. It was you're just patiently waiting, hoping everything goes well. And then my favorite moment of life was when she came out and they put her on my chest and she was crying and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'm a mom. I finally did it after years of trying but the beautiful work that I did to stay sane during those 2 years, I went into myself, and I wasn't very spiritual at the time. And I learned Reiki. I went to Reiki classes and learned how to heal myself through the power of your hands and heal others.
Rachel,
But
I'm so curious. You gave up control, but then you prayed to God,
of course,
right? And so you
I
just
gave up control. I guess that I'm a person who likes to have control of everything. And I just said, I give it like, the song, Jesus Take the Wheel, she just gives up control. I just gave it up to the universe, to God, to whatever forces may be. And I ended up having some serious health problems after I gave birth. I developed Hashimoto's and fibromyalgia. So then I had to deal with healing myself, and that continued my health journey.
often I ask about a turning point, but you just told this story of your turning point, where the turning point was your deep desire to be a mother,
That
to
was all I wanted. It's gonna happen like that, and it didn't. And it was a really hard thing on my soul and my relationships. My sister had 2 babies, and my best friend had 2 babies during that time. So it was hard. So yeah, I gave up control, and I'm a big planner, so I do think it was good for me in some way.
And after living this experience, how has it changed, whether it's your inner work, where it's your need for control? How is your life different after living through that experience?
Well, that was not even the whole whole journey of it.
Okay, tell me more.
I ended up having 3 more miscarriages. Healing from that trauma, like that trauma was probably the hardest thing I've ever experienced. You not getting what you want, right? I wanted 3 kids. Now I have one and I'm grateful because she's wonderful.
But life didn't go as you planned. Your plan
No, it
was
didn't it
different.
didn't go as I planned and I was very, very depressed. And I was trying to be happy for my daughter and my husband. And, I think in the process of this all, I realized that my husband couldn't be the support I needed him to be because he wasn't a woman and he tried his best. And if I leaned into him and expected him to be my entire support through all of this, we wouldn't be together anymore. I think a lot of times when people are on a fertility journey or infertility, I like to call it fertility, that they look to their husband as their partner, their equal half, to experience the same loss and traumatic feeling, and they just don't have that same feeling. And I forgive him for that. He did the best he could. I found strength in support and inside myself. I did a lot of healing with the Love Light Center in Wells. I went on a retreat. And I think that I knew I needed something. I just knew I needed something. I wasn't being the mother I was meant to be. I wasn't being the wife. I was just depressed and sad. And that's not how you should live your life. I decided, I guess, to be proactive. And I said, I have to go on this spiritual retreat. Actually, I knew I had to go when I was like, oh, $1,000. I don't have $1,000 right now. And I got a phone call that day. It was, I realized I owe you $1,000. Wait, what? I needed $1,000. So that was my big sign, like this is the path I'm meant to go on. I'm supposed to go on this. And I went there and my question going was, I want to know why I had all these miscarriages and why this happened to me. Why am I the one it happened to? And I didn't get that answer at the end, but I came home okay with okay with it, like at peace with this is my journey. I'm not going to know the answer. I might know it one day, but right now is not the time I'm going to know it. I'm very grateful for that experience and being able to come home and let it go because I had a hard time letting it go.
And I want to just pause for a minute. The Love Light Center is a business in Wells, Maine, and Cheryl Banfield has been a guest on a previous podcast. I think Laurel and I interviewed her. I believe it was in our second season, but I will make sure that that episode is in the show notes. And for those of you listeners who are interested, we'll also put their website so you can find more information about the Love Light Center. I too have gone on a retreat after witnessing your return from a retreat and hearing you speak about this experience you had in this weekend full of other women
Mm-hmm.
also on a spiritual path. And I don't mean that only people on a spiritual path participate in love light offerings or are on this seeker's journey. But when you're looking for answers in life, sometimes that we can't find in the world around us, or when we just want to open our hearts, open our intuition to more of the world's wisdom, the wisdom of the universe. We want to learn how to trust ourselves deeper. Programs like the Love Light offers and other places that you and I both know, you talked about Reiki, like,
Mm-hmm.
where are the tools, the resources that we have all around us to help us do this inner work? And so thank you for that, because when you came back from that retreat, I was like, oh, I need to go, you
It
know,
really was. It was profound. It was definitely a turning point in my life. And I came back. So I don't want to say grounded, but I came back okay, where I wasn't okay when I went. I just need to be grateful for what I have, right? I mean, we can always want for more.
yes.
But I'm grateful. Some days I wake up and I'm grateful for my cup of coffee and I'm grateful for a hot shower. Like you don't have to be grateful for these profound things.
And gratitude really does gratitude brings us into a place where we can experience and live into more abundance. The more we are grateful for, even if it is the minor things, like a warm cup of coffee or a warm shower,
Yeah,
we
it's the small stuff what we should be grateful for. I mean, the everyday things, it's the fact that the sun's out today, right? We're having a sunny day.
So I want to ask, thinking about this, what does your inner work look like? Like, do you have particular practices or, how do you bring this inner work? And often I think about inner work as just self-reflection, right? It's it's tapping into our inner knowingness, our true self, and I'm not going to say authentic self, but our true, our soul self, tapping into that. And in the world we live in the busyness, and you have two businesses and two dogs and a husband and a daughter, a 6-year-old daughter, and you have a busy life. And so with all of the busyness, how do you find time is one question. And then what are your practices that are part of your life to keep you grounded in inner work?
My practices are I go to yoga 2 to 3 times a week, and I that is my church. I
Yeah.
go and I work on my body and my mind and my soul.
Is Reiki still one of the things that you practice?
Yes, I practice on myself. I really don't practice it on anyone but myself
Yes.
and my close loved
But
ones.
isn't that what inner work is? When I think about,
Yeah.
the toolbox of inner work, whether it's your tarot cards, Reiki, looking to the universe for guidance, right? Tapping into your intuition, even thinking things through when you're driving in the car, right?
Right.
All of these things are tools that we can use to get to know ourselves better, to get to know ourselves deeper, and to strengthen our self and our
Right.
trust in the world. And as we do that, gratitude becomes easier.
Yeah, I guess it's been a practice for so long, it just feels like it's just something I do.
Yeah.
And
So do you have a go-to practice, like when you know you have inner work to do? Like you said,
yoga. I go to yoga. I feel like yoga for me is like I have no cell phone, no one can reach me for an hour. Do you know how nice that is? I go to the chiropractor every week. I do this, try to do the sauna once a week. I go for a walk. I love to walk the beach. Breath work is so important. It seems so silly, and it just centers you and I feel like I've been dealing with a little bit of anxiety lately, and I realized that breath work helps me get rid of it.
yeah, a lot of people are feeling anxious and anxiety in the world we live in today. And
Yeah,
breathwork is a really quick way to just center yourself, right? To calm your nervous system, to calm your mind. So I want to ask, what have you seen change in maybe in your parenting, in your role as a wife, in your business? You've been in business 18 years. What have you seen change in those areas of your life after you have really started this inner work journey?
my parenting, I would say I really like my daughter, the children, they live in the moment. They're not thinking about tomorrow or yesterday. They're like live in the moment. So I really try to live in the moment with her. The inner work would be for my parenting is, well, I want her to be a good person, right? I want her to be, she doesn't have to be the famous ice skater, or I just want to raise a child that is kind and loving.
Yes, and I think children do live in the moment. And when we have done some inner work, we're more able to meet them where they are, right?
Right.
And then your yoga practice, I mean, time on the mat is teaching you to be where you are. So I can see the tie between the inner work that you've done and how it shows up in your parenting.
I guess one other thing is patience, right? Patience. Like the whole journey that I went through, it was like patience to get, I had to have patience. And
Yes.
that wasn't something I've ever had. So I think I mean, parenting is patience too. Like having a child is probably something that you learn so much about yourself. I feel like I'm learning through her. She's teaching me so much as a person that I'm forever grateful for my child because she teaches me things. But yeah, patience, I think when you're stuck somewhere, you have to just be patient and know that this moment will pass. It's
Yeah.
not going to be like this forever.
And patience is a good practice, even in
Oh,
business, as business
so
owners.
hard. So hard.
What else in your business? Has your business changed or your approach to business changed because you've become, I'll say, in tune with yourself?
Well, I think photography is to be a successful photographer, to photograph people. You need to have patience with your clients. I almost have to like really do work with my clients sometimes to get them to feel comfortable and be okay in the moment. So I do think my intuition more than my patience, my intuition into reading people really helps.
It definitely, because, it is through inner work practices that we start to tap into our intuition and we trust our intuition. Because by knowing ourselves better, we can know others
Right.
and see others differently when they show up in our space.
And
So,
I think just being in tune to the energy that they're bringing in,
yeah.
right?
We talked about what your beautiful life looks like. And in my thoughts, a beautiful life is the good, the bad, and the ugly. It is the fullness of a messy life that makes life beautiful. It is our resilience and our ability to tap into our three centers, right? Our heart, our brain, and our intuition, and to bring ourselves forward into the world to serve others. And you do that in your work every day. And I don't know, for me, that's not possible without some inner work practices,
Of
without
course.
learning patience and intuition and trust and how to manage our minds, our bodies, our spirit. And I hear it, when you talk about your practices, you really are caring for your mind, your body, and your spirit, all of it.
Well, I guess it's just integrated into my life. Like
Yes. And
uh,
that is beautiful.
I've been doing it so long I don't even know that I'm doing it. Because you're like, what do you do? I'm like, I don't know. I just do what I do. But
Rachel, it's hard
I,
to see ourselves.
I know.
And so I
I
can I can come into this space and tell the world what I see in you, and
yeah.
it shows up, right? Your beautiful work shows up in how you come into the world, how you come into your everyday, how you take care of your chickens, how you
No.
how all of those things. So tell me, another question I have is, what would you say to someone who's just coming into an experience that is life-changing, right? It's
Yeah.
difficult, it's
Yeah.
challenging. And what would you tell them about getting through that experience? Your experience, I mean, IVF, not everyone experiences that.
It's hard. It's hard. You're
Yes.
going through something that is hard, but you're going to come out on the other side stronger and more resilient and you're going to be able to handle stuff better than you ever did before. It will pass, you will get through it, and you will be stronger. And like, don't give up the things you want. Try to get healthy, try to focus on yourself. Do the inner work of believing in yourself and believing that you're on the right path. Maybe find somebody to talk to. Go do a love light retreat.
I was going to say, I think one of the things I heard from you in this conversation is, surround yourself with support and
100%.
rely on your partner, your husband or your wife
Yes.
to an extent, but find a support system, a group, maybe of women who can lift you up and hold you in those times. And whether it's the Love Light Center or another community, find that support. So we're going to wrap up soon, but is there anything else that you want our listeners to hear?
All the healing can be done within you. Go into your intuition. Be at peace at where you are. Everything is going to fall into place the way it's meant to be. So I guess that would be if I wanted to give advice about how I got here and I'm okay. Because a lot of people are not okay after having 4 miscarriages
Yes.
and having all that loss. Everything is within yourself. You can't go out into the world and expect other people to heal you. You have to heal yourself.
Yes, and that is why whatever self-reflection that we do, whatever small practice it is, when I think about this, like, yoga brings you into yourself, being in nature brings you into yourself. even holding a pet, caring, feeding chickens. This solitary activity, oftentimes we're uncomfortable in
Mm-hmm.
solitary activity. We're constantly, I'm going to use the word bombarded with information that distracts us and keeps us from knowing ourselves deeply.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that healing really does come from knowing yourself and what you need and what needs to be healed. So
But if you're
unless,
living in a life that's unhappy and your job you're unhappy with, like do a little self-reflection and say, how could I be happy? What would make me happy? And then start doing those things maybe in your free time and see if that's what makes you happy.
well, Rachel, all of that is so good. Your beautiful life is really the product of all that you've experienced. And the good, the bad, the sad, all of it makes this beautiful life that you have.
I got so much more to live.
Yes, and here's to that. So we're going to wrap up. We're going to say goodbye for now.
Thank you, Laurel,
Um,
for having me.
you're welcome, Rachel. It's so incredible because so many women need to hear your story,
Oh,
right? Of your fertility journey, your parenting journey, your farmsteading journey, all of that. This is a way of creating a life that resonates with you, that you find beautiful, that you dream of long in advance. And I don't want to say make it happen, but you're open to receiving when those things happen and learning how to let go of your plan, to surrender, to
yeah.
let go of your expectations and find the gratitude and the beauty in what is, like living in the moment, all of those things. Such important messages for our listeners. So thank you for that.
Happy to share.
Thank you.
Don't share very often. I'm such a private person about my personal stuff.
This was incredible. It really, really needed. So, listeners, thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with more Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life.